Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hey guys, welcome back to the season review podcast exclusively on AI Pro Plus. It's me again, hosting this show, and I got a couple of excellent guests lined up for you today. And first up, I am going to have a little chit chat with I don't know how I can introduce this guest other than if you follow him on social media, and he's been quite active this season and I'm quite grateful for it, but he has really, really weird eating habits. He's literally the funniest guy on Anfield Index. A good friend of mine as well. I think he's the kind of friend that makes everyone feel better about themselves, because he'll always say something more silly than more stupid than you. It's a guy that needs no introduction, but I'm smiling. You can hear the smile on my face. It is the legend, the man, the guy that you hear on the main AI podcast. Trev Downey and Lisa-Marie have to keep him in check. We have a small influence now on Daisy podcast, but it's great to host him. It is Kam Brainch. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for the lovely intro. Never a more truer word said. So,
just out of curiosity, are you eating something repulsive right now?
Is that what? Sorry.
Are you eating something quite disgusting right now, or are you just like sipping on a bottle of water or something?
No, I've actually got nothing. I've actually got absolutely nothing to hand. I probably should have had some water, because I've had a bit of a tickle in the throat. So no, I just had what did Mrs. B? She made lunch for me, so I just had to warm it up. It was like a wrap with cheese on top and some very nice filling. You know, because I've gone vegetarian now, and
nice.
I honestly don't know what I'm eating half the time.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
I just eat it and I'm happy.
If Mrs. B and if she makes you something, I know it's going to be absolutely amazing, because obviously we see pictures of it. But when you're left to your own little way, my word, we need to have some words on that. But Kam, this isn't a what I eat in a day podcast.
We should do it actually.
Which listeners will be grateful for. I think it is a season review. So Kam, you know what a season it's been. I mean, we've all had our little chit chat on this. So I want to get your thoughts on this. A season overview thoughts. I think hindsight's a wonderful thing when you can sit back and reflect. So I want to get your thoughts on how what you made of the season.
I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. One of the most amazing seasons I've ever had the joy of witnessing. If you just go back 12 months ago where we were, and how we were just breathing a huge sigh of relief that, we got into the top four, and obviously we got into the top four quite comfortably in the end, and weren't challenging for any trophies whatsoever. And then this season to do what we did, I just think you've got to put it into perspective that, yes, there was the last two games as such put a downer on it, but no, don't be down, people. It was one of the most magnificent seasons of football we have ever had the pleasure to witness. Teams don't do that year in, year out. They just don't do it. And to have gone a goal away and a point away, or maybe say 2 points away from achieving the ultimate, where we would have had to say, that's it, we've got to give up football now. There's nothing more. That's how close we were. And it was an absolute pleasure, an absolute joy. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
I love to hear it, and I think a lot of people share that as well. And obviously, we'll get into the depths of things. But you made all the finals, and there's some funny stories and moments along the way with some of your good pals in real life and on the podcasting scene as well.
Yeah.
So Kam, you thoroughly enjoyed this season, and I have to just kind of ask you, if you had to pick a favorite match, which one was it?
A favourite match in footballing sense, or a favourite match as in a personal sense?
Well, it could be either or, because obviously we've got a favourite match, and then I'm going to ask you your favourite moment as well.
Okay, well, let's do favourite match then. Favourite match in a footballing sense then would be Man United 0, Liverpool 5. Just to go there and absolutely humiliate them in their own backyard, and then for the fans to do a parade after 60 minutes. Oh no, it wasn't a parade, was it? They were leaving the stadium to go home. It was just the ultimate in saying, you guys are nothing now, you're irrelevant, you don't mean a thing to us anymore. They're our biggest rivals. It's the biggest, for me, it's the biggest match in world football.
And just for context as well, Kam, like, a lot of Man United supporters as well, like myself, which is why it kind of adds, doesn't it?
It does. My phone's been very quiet this year. I only started getting a little bit during the Champions League final from one Man United fan, and I don't need to say anything to you. It's like I said, you're irrelevant now. There's no point. I don't need to engage with you anymore. My silence is going to cause you to boil up even more.
Yes. Because
you want a reaction from me, for us losing a game in a final that you could only dream about being at. So that was just a magnificent game of football. I mean, I thought the whole team played brilliantly that day. And when you look at the midfield, for example, that day, who would have said that a midfield of Naby, Hendo, and Milner would do that? I mean, yeah, we know that Man United were an atrocious, terrible, terrible football team, but individually they've got some really, really good players. You can't deny that. But as a team, they're horrendous.
Yeah.
And how many teams went there and beat them 5-0 this season? I think we were the only ones. And then we stopped playing after the 5th. That was the thing. We just went into training mode. It was a joke what we did to them. So yeah, favorite match was definitely that match. Definitely that match, without a doubt.
I mean, that was that game took place for me when obviously I was away from the football scene.
Yeah.
And I do remember just looking at that result and just thinking, wow. And and my recollection from the people that watched it and what they kind of said to me was, Liverpool absolutely flattened them in the there was only one goal in the second half. Like, literally, Liverpool just did their business from the get-go really, really soon. And it was just so professional. And I share your thoughts as well. My favorite moment was the 4-0 in April, because obviously that was a game I watched, and to me it just felt like Liverpool were in a calm breeze with it all. And it's, when you look back at them 2 games and it finished 9-0 on aggregate, that is pretty phenomenal, And you're speaking about Man United fans are being irrelevant. My next door neighbour is a Manchester United supporter, and he hid obviously. He hides, and he came out for when we obviously lost in the Champions League final, and he came out and he goes, "Oh, what happened to you last night?" And I just looked at him, like you said, you got to be calm. I did get argumentative because obviously there were bigger things that happened in that game, which I'm sure we'll discuss, which were not football related. And I just turned around and looked at him. I go, maybe next season you can go on and win it. And he just looked at me like, you horrible little thing. Because obviously we know they're not in the Champions League.
Not in the Champions League.
It's like, does your opinion even matter? So, Kam, that was your favourite match. And I think it will be a popular one amongst the AI community. Your favourite moment?
Favourite moment was it was only about 5 weeks ago, and it was the Liverpool Spurs game at Anfield, and I managed to take my youngest, my daughter Ikvi, or Iki, to her first football match, and the original plan was I was going to take her on March the 20th, which was her birthday, and we were meant to be playing Man United, funnily enough. So that was the plan. And unfortunately, that game then got rearranged to a midweek game. I couldn't, at the time, do midweek games because of work commitments. So very, very fortunate to have a wonderful person who I won't name, but most people will know who it is,
You're welcome.
who looked after me. Thank you, Nina. So we have a wonderful person who managed to make sure I had tickets available, the tickets then for the Tottenham game, because it was on the I think it was on the Sunday, I think, if I remember rightly, and so we went, and it was just the day with my daughter, first time at a football match, because I've taken the older two to Munich, and again, same person sorted tickets out, and we saw 4 football matches in Munich for just an Audi Trophy tournament thing, which was a great experience for the older two. And they said, well, so whenever I say to them, "Oh, let's watch a football match," "Nah, Dad, we only do it live in stadiums." You know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, look at you two now. Yeah. But yeah, just to have that day with my daughter in the Kop, experience that emotion of, coming from a goal behind as well to get an equaliser, and the result was the result. A little bit of a downer. Won that game, you could say we could have won the league, but hey ho, that wasn't meant to be. But it was, like I say, just that whole experience, taking a child to the first football game, and hopefully then they develop an interest within the game from that and become a future Red. And to be fair, she did say, she was the only one who sat down and watched the Champions League final. So maybe it has worked. So
maybe it has moved off. And
yeah,
you were sat in the Kop, right?
We were in the Kop. Well, definitely weren't sat. We were stood. Nobody sits in the Kop, do they? No. We were actually in the safe standing area in the Kop. So that was even better then for her as well. Yeah. Because obviously people are, when you know what it's like.
I'm left with black eyes and everything.
We've been there, haven't we? We've been in the Kop. Me and you have been in the Kop together, and prime example was the
Man City game, right?
Champions League game against Man City, 3-0. And how many people were hitting me?
Yeah, we came out black and blue.
Yeah, and they were hitting me with love and affection. It was just.
But people just lose control of their limbs, basically.
You lose control of yourself.
Yeah.
And the one takeaway my daughter had from that was she came back and told her mum, he's even crazier in the stadium than he is at home.
That is not a surprise. We witnessed it, and listeners need to be aware as well. Like, obviously it was a fun day out, and and I think everyone knows this. You have like pre-match rituals where you meet up with people and stuff. So it's the whole thing that she kind of witnessed as well. And I actually remember that game as well, because it was a late kickoff on a Saturday, and I remember
that's right. It was the 8 o'clock kickoff,
it was, and something was brewing inside me. When you're like, oh God, this is where we've kind of lost it. Like when something's brewing up. And I was doing my post-match show, just a small little thing of like negativity brewing up on me. And you guys called in, you and Bargy.
That's right.
The little one was in the back.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, you guys were just like, this isn't the game, like we've had some disappointments down the line. and you guys, and you were just kind of reassuring the listeners, and you were sort of getting it off your chest. And you know what, in that moment, you kind of stopped my negativity, like, from being, because I kept believing till the very end, and it's a good job I did. Do you know what I mean? Regardless of what happened, because that's what being a supporter of Liverpool Football Club is all about. So that is actually quite a moment for me as well, because, you kind of stopped me from being from going into that little negative Nancy vibe. So that's
what it's about, isn't it? Ultimately, as well. That's the point of the post-match trophy itself. That's the point of anybody phoning up to get it off their chest. So you've got to. No one's ever going to have a perfect season and win every single match. It just can't be done. I don't think anybody will ever win the 4 trophies. The fact, there's a reason it's never been done. It's bloody difficult. So you got to appreciate what you have when you have it. We've seen the dark times, we've seen the good times now. Appreciate it, enjoy it, love it, embrace it, become one with it, and life's good.
Love that. That would be the moment to end the pod, but we can't. Kam, I have to go there. Your worst match.
My worst match.
I also have a worst moment as well. So
okay, so the worst match for me, and it was an annoying one. I mean, I'll be honest with you. There's a choice of 2, and the 2 you could. For me, it's a toss of a coin between the 2. One is the Leicester away, where we really threw that game away. Mm-hmm. I felt we had the penalty. The penalty was saved. We would have gone 1-0 up. It would have been a completely different story. It just had to be that day that the penalty was saved. The other match, again, like I said, because it's flip a coin, was the other defeat in the season. And nobody talks about this defeat. And so that's why I'm going to go with this one. And that's the West Ham away, where we lost 3-2.
Yep.
And we were just shocking that day.
Yeah, we were really bad.
We were really, really bad. Yet we still scored 2 goals, but we were shocking in the way that we just couldn't defend to save our lives. And it was the one game where you just needed to stand up. I mean, the atmosphere was rocking that day at the Olympic Stadium. West Ham fans have finally got round to, appreciating the stadium they have there now, and they're getting behind the team, because West Ham, they've got to give them their dues. They've started to do really, really well under David Moyes, and, full credit to him for that. But that day, we were just, we had a couple of really bad refereeing decisions, and we were really poor, and there was a lot of debate over the first goal, with the Antonio header. Was it a foul on Alisson? Wasn't it a foul on Alisson? It wasn't a foul on Alisson. The keeper, at the end of the day, the ball's there to be won. A big striker's going to go in for the ball. Darwin Núñez, if he signs, because as of this moment, he hasn't yet officially been unveiled, but he's going to be doing that all season. You want to see him do that. You want to see him bullying defenders and keepers in the 6-yard box and winning these headers. So it was just a stupid game to lose. Yes, you could say we had a little, we had a few players missing with injury. Doesn't matter. Our squad is more than good enough to cope with 3 or 4 injuries against, no disrespect, the likes of West Ham. And so that was my worst footballing match this season, I would say, because that was the type of game you could say that cost us the league. But to counteract that, what I say to people is we never look at the matches where we won games or gained a point where we shouldn't have. We're always quick to focus on the games where we drop points, that when we say they're the games that cost us. Now, I'm not saying they all balance themselves out, but you've got to have a little bit of perspective as well and think, well, actually, this game, maybe we shouldn't have got a point there, or we maybe should have only had 1 point rather than 3 points. So, but that was the match that, when I look back over the whole season, would be the one that really annoyed me, really, really annoyed me.
I like the fact that you kind of mentioned the games where we kind of like, maybe didn't deserve to win but won them, like the smash and grabs kind of element of things. Cam, when you become a philosopher, we like it. You've been hanging out with Trev Downey and Lisa-Marie. Enough on you. I'm loving this. Cam, worst moment.
Worst moment. Okay, I think you could probably guess where I'm going to go with this one. Again, very humbled and privileged to have been able to go to the Champions League final, and it was really, really strange inside the stadium. I mean, thankfully, we were so lucky. We were so lucky. Me and Gags, Cy Brundish and his lad, and Ajay, who's Task Force 7 on 007 on Discord. We got down to the stadium area about 6:30. Now, the way we approached the stadium was we had like a 3-kilometer walk. So we're just taking it nice and easy, walking down, lots of fans around us, lots of locals around us, no issues, no dramas whatsoever. So we've approached the stadium from behind the goal where all the Liverpool fans were. So if you can imagine, we're directly behind there, and we're at that underpass now to go through the first ticket check. So that area behind the goal was gates Z and A. A being to, if you stood behind the goal, so you stood behind the stadium, A would have been to the right of Z. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, brilliant. So we've got to this underpass. We've then, there's about a line of 8, 9 stewards, 10 stewards maybe. A doubled up stewards and maybe some sort of a security person. So there's about maybe 6 or 7, I can't remember. I wasn't really paying attention to numbers. So the fans are just not crushed up against them, but there's a lot of fans there just waiting patiently and just one by one going forward. And they're either checking the tickets physically if you had a paper ticket, and the way they were doing that was with like a UV pen of some sort, and they'll, like when you're checking for a forged note with the pen.
Yeah.
So they're just doing a little on the back of the ticket, they're just rubbing this pen up and down it. Yeah, that's fine. So me and Gags had paper tickets. Ajay had the ticket on the UEFA app. So what they did was they opened up the app, and I don't know if they did scan the QR code or anything, but they said, yeah, that's fine. They let him through. Cy Brundish and his boy came through as well. So we gone to the back stadium. We're there behind a sort of A zone, and we're just taking a few selfies and stuff, no problems. Going round to the right, so our gate was C, our entrance. So we're going to the right, and there's a load of zones and stalls and stuff. All great, brilliant, no problem. Loads of fans there enjoying themselves. And then as we're going to gate C, a load of UEFA people came walking past us, like they were being escorted in. No problems, no drama. No locals inside now at this moment in time. Just Liverpool fans on the side we were.
Mm-hmm.
So as we're going to gate C, we bumped into a few people. We've gone in, great, yeah. I enjoy the game, blah blah. All great, no problem. Got to gate C, and there's about 6 turnstiles. Nobody there, nobody at all. We've gone straight up. So this is about 6:45, give or take. So we've gone in, scanned our tickets, gone through. AJ's eventually come up. Security were giving him a little bit of a hard time about something, but he came through as well. Baji was waiting for us, and a couple of the things were waiting for us. 2 of the things were on the other side, completely the other side of the stadium. They were more towards the Real Madrid side, not far from the dugouts. They had somebody famous literally sat 10 feet from them. I can't remember who they said now. So we've then gone into the middle section of Zone C, sat down, no problems, loads of fans. And what we've noticed is the Real Madrid end is filling up rapidly, but the Liverpool end isn't. We're like, that's really odd, because there's loads of Liverpool fans out there. Maybe they're just still enjoying outside. And then the sign comes up, due to the late arrival of fans. And we're like, what? What late arrival of fans? There was thousands out there when we were there. You know, and fans around us are getting angry, and obviously Gags is then worried for a couple of his cousins because he's arranged for their tickets and they're stuck outside still. And the mood just went really somber. Just went, you know, as much as, you know, you were trying to be, yeah, it'll be okay, you know, it's just a delay, you know, it'll be fine. We then started seeing the videos and the images on social media, because at that point because it wasn't a full stadium, you could get a phone signal, and we're like, hey, this is not right. This doesn't look right. This is wrong. And the fans around us are getting more and more agitated, and then obviously you suddenly start seeing around from about 9 o'clock local time onwards, more and more Liverpool fans beginning to come into Zone Z and A, and Y and B and C, where we were, and I would guess then W and X, which was probably the main zones where the Liverpool fans were. And slowly it begins to fill up, and obviously about 9:30, you know, it's pretty much a full stadium now. But the mood is still somber. And as much as we, you know, those around us, and we try to get the songs going, we just couldn't.
Yeah.
It really had a negative impact on us when it should not have. I mean, we went to Madrid and there were 3 security checks before you got to the turnstile. The game didn't get delayed there. And this was a stadium that was in the middle of nowhere, literally. It was so far out of Madrid. It was unreal. No issues, no drama. I believe it was the same in Kiev. No issues, no drama. So why here in France, in Saint Denis, Paris? You know, why this? And it's shocking, you know, everything that's now coming out about how all the video footage being deleted. Apparently there was 40,000 ticketless fans. Well, no, there wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
No, there wasn't. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was one guy in front of us who had a forged ticket, and he admitted it to us, and then said, I'm not going to get through here. And he turned around and went. That was at the one security check. He goes, I'm not going to get through because my ticket's forgery. He knew he had a forged ticket, so he turned around and went. So that doesn't sound like, you know, that loads of Liverpool fans with forged tickets were trying to get in. Maybe there would have been a few. Nobody can deny that. But it was so awful. Even when we came out the stadium, Baji and a couple of the other things were stood literally 10, 15 feet from us. And literally on full-time whistle, they went and they were gone. And I didn't realise, and I just looked round. I said to Gags, I said, Baji's gone. And he goes, come on, let's get out of here. And we had a couple of other mates stood right behind us, and we didn't even think to say goodbye to them. We just thought, want to get out of here. We don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we went out, we went down back towards that underpass. And guess what? The gates were locked. So fans are coming out of the stadium back to that underpass, and they've locked the gates. And next to us, there was a person on a wheelchair. And we said, stop. Don't turn around. And then there was a person on a mobility scooter, and I said to them, don't go down there. It's a tunnel effect. It's a bottleneck. It's going to be created. Just wait here or turn around. We'll find another exit. They go, where are we going to go? We said, don't worry. Just wait one moment. Then they opened the gates, and then everybody started streaming through. So we then went through, and then I could see all the riot police. And I said to Gags, let's cross the road. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, cross the road. I I can sense it.
Yeah.
I just know I'm too bloody old, and I know shit when shit's gonna happen. I said, let's just cross the road. And as we're crossing the road, all these police vans and cars went shooting past us. We crossed the road, and then we turned right where all the coaches were parked. And as we're walking up, two locals were walking down, and one of them shoulder barged me. And I just carried on walking, just ignored it. And Jags didn't realise. And I then, after about 10, 15 seconds, I just turned around and had a look. And he was walking as well. He hadn't stopped, or if he had stopped, he was maybe waiting for me to react sooner and come back or something. But I just thought, or maybe it was an accident. I don't know. But he didn't have a need to shoulder barge me, but he did. But I just thought, yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with somebody in their zone. This is their domain. You know what I mean? Let's just get out of here. Yeah. So just got out there. We then just stopped somewhere, had a bite to eat. Loads of people in there, locals, fans, no issues, no drama. Had a quick bite to eat, carried on walking back up to the hotel. Some locals came running out. One of them was just in his underwear, singing "Hola Madrid" or "Real Madrid," yeah, whatever, singing, because the locals obviously wanted Madrid to win for whatever reason. They didn't say anything to us. I wasn't showing any colours at that point. I wasn't feeling that well anyway. I was literally, I'd come down with a lurgy of something, and I was quite rough for the whole weekend, despite the videos you may see on Friday night of me being a bit too wild as usual. But we then just, those guys didn't say anything to us. We just got back to the hotel, and we were just like, yeah, everybody's messages were coming through in the WhatsApp group. Yeah, we're back. And we just so relieved. And it's just not nice that. Can you imagine if I took my daughter to her first football match, and it was a Champions League final? We've been lucky enough to get 2 tickets, and we got caught up in what those thousands of fans had to go through for those 2-3 hours before the game, where they've been tear gassed and pepper sprayed, and it's 2022. And the French authorities just don't understand that, because a week later they had a rugby match at the Stade de France, and the same thing happened again.
Yep.
So was that ticketless fans again? Was that forged tickets again? No.
It's just incompetence, isn't it? Of the highest order. Of the highest order. And you kind of mentioned your daughter there, and obviously people that watched it from home, obviously we were watching a lot of things on social media, and there were kids getting tear gassed, and it was just horrible to see. Like those kids will probably be traumatized for life, probably will not have good association with football and stuff. It just felt very dated in terms of how everything was being handled, brutal, almost kind of barbaric. It was just not nice to see. And I always I think a lot of people shoot down social media a lot, but you know what, power to social media, because we saw so many, when that announcement board went up and I was watching it from home, and then you just go on social media and you see what people are saying, like the fans. And then you read and I'm so glad that, there was so many not glad, but I'm so glad that the journalists who have no affinity to Liverpool Football Club, the likes of Gary Lineker and the Henry Winters and those kind of journalists, all those guys were sort of taking to social media saying, it's not the fans, it's not the fans, it's not the fans. And, but this is gross incompetence. And, it came out, and, hopefully now those, the people responsible will be held accountable, and they are being held accountable. But I'm just at a loss here, and I'm glad you kind of mentioned that that the anxiety and the restlessness in the stadium, as your end weren't being filled up with Liverpool supporters, because I spoke about that, and when I gave my when I did my season review, and I spoke about maybe the impact it had on the players as well, because obviously we know Andy Robertson's family members, friends were caught up in this, and so many people were affected, and it was just awful. And I remember in the DC chat group, I messaged you guys and I just said the result was so irrelevant. By the end of it was so irrelevant.
By the end of it, that's right.
Yeah. I don't care about the result. Please just get home safe. Because you can't. That's your first thought. And like you said, it should not happen in 2022. And I'm just glad that people are now like sharing their accounts and of what happened and what they went through. And hopefully a full investigation will be in order. A really, really horrible.
It has to be an independent, truly independent investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the issue. Will we actually get a truly independent investigation? I doubt it, because the cover-up has already started. The CCTV footage of the Metro is now being deleted, which was meant to show the 40,000 ticketless fans. The CCTV footage of at the stadium is now being deleted because the French courts didn't request it in time. It's bullshit. It's utter bullshit. And the fact that there was no trouble before the game in any way, shape, or form, no trouble whatsoever. I mean, we hardly saw any police at the fan zone that we went to. There was a little fan zone set up not far from Notre Dame, and that's where we sort of met everybody, and we sort of hung around there for the 2 day, the Friday night, and then and the Saturday afternoon. We didn't go to the main fan zone because we were trying to sort a couple of things out as well at the same time. So we needed to stay in that area, and we didn't see any incidents whatsoever. Madrid fans, Liverpool fans, locals, absolutely fine. And for them to then say that this is the reasoning for this, that, and the other, it's utter rubbish.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry that we've gone on quite lengthy on this one, but I think it's important that everybody heard a slightly different perspective of what happened, because we were lucky, and people need to hear that as well. Again, it goes back to me saying earlier, there has to be perspective in everything. You can hear so much negativity, but sometimes it's at the same time it's nice to hear, even though it was a negative experience, it was still positive in the end, that we weren't too badly affected in any way. It just made the atmosphere within the stadium a little bit more muted. Don't get me wrong, if we'd scored a goal, that would have made all the difference as well. It would have changed the atmosphere, it would have changed the mood. And it's just those little fine margins, isn't it, as well?
It is, absolutely, and Gags kind of spoke about that as well. Kam, thank you for sharing your version of accounts of what happened in Paris. I'm going to take it back to the next question.
Far away.
AI podcast that you've enjoyed listening to or taking part in. I'm going to just share mine with you if you've not listened. My favorite moment was, you being you. I felt like I was there with you, and I needed that. I've never laughed so much in my life. You
realise there's a court case going on for the slander and the lies now.
Gags is going to be penniless. But over to you. You've been on a lot of podcasts this season, and you've obviously listened to a lot. So
there's too many, isn't there, for me? I take part in a lot of podcasts. I enjoy every single one. Each one just seems to be better than the last one in the terms of what we feel is, the contribution we've made, or the content that we've discussed. I couldn't honestly say which one was my favorite. I do enjoy the car pod. I do truly enjoy being in a car pod because it's raw, it's emotional, it's fun, depending on the result, obviously. I mean, that car pod we did that day was it was the FA Cup final, wasn't it? I think
it was
the FA Cup final, and it had been a hell of a day. It was just an unbelievably long day. Me ducking and diving ducking and weaving, trying to avoid this Stuart to get in wearing my colours. There wasn't really any running involved, as Mr. Tandem may have said, but there was definitely a lot of ducking and diving, I can assure you. I thought I could get away by sneaking down the side of an escalator, and nobody would see me. But there was another steward waiting on the other side, so I couldn't get away. It was just one of those things. So that would probably be the one that stands out, because it was just because of the whole day. The tyre. I mean, Tandon and his bloody tyre. Get 3 tyres changed, don't get 1 tyre changed, and it's the 1 tyre that goes and get the bloody screw in it, and that scores this puncture. And then luckily we got home safe and sound. That was the main thing. And Tandon got the alloy wheel nut lock, so at least he didn't have to grind the nuts off, or the bolts, whichever way you want to look at the bolt, I guess it would be, off the wheels to get those off. So that's a lot of damage to your alloys then. It was just a mad day, that was. It was just mad. Helped by the fact that it was the trophy I really wanted to win this season. The FA Cup I've wanted to win it for quite a few years now. I've been saying it every year. I want us to win the FA Cup. I really want us to win the FA Cup. So that would have to be the one, I guess. Guess we've got the same choice there, Nina.
Yeah.
Good taste.
Good taste, yeah, absolutely. I felt like I was there with you, and you just being you, Cam. It is that, I call it silly season, transfer window, but you kind of alluded to Nunez being obviously it looks very, very close. So your transfer window hopes and expectations.
Transfer window hope and expectation. That's a really difficult one, because it's always the same, is that we want to strengthen the squad, but we don't want the squad being decimated too much with outgoings. Unfortunately, it looks like Sadio is on his way out, and all the stuff in January about Luis Diaz is going to be his replacement looks like it's bearing some truth in that now. The Nunez one, if it happens, that should be really, really exciting. I profess I've only seen him play twice. Those 2 games, you should never judge a player on 2 games, but if you just look at his numbers for the season, he's had a phenomenal season where he's been fully fit as well. If you listen to Dave Hendricks, he's spoken about him a couple of times with Carl Matchett and on Old School with Gags as well. That he's had these injuries, he's now over these injuries, and you're seeing the player, that is there, and because of his age, he's only 22. It's going to be exciting to develop that player into potentially one of the world's best strikers, and that's going to be exciting to look forward to. And when you then look at what the age of our front three will be right now, if you say didn't start with Mo and Bobby, you suddenly got Jota 25, Diaz 25, Nunez 22. All of a sudden, we've replaced our front three without even batting an eyelid.
Absolutely.
And so that's exciting there. So things have already happened that we don't realise that have progressed this team massively. I think the one area then we will need to look at is midfield.
Mm-hmm.
We are a touch light because certain players, like everybody, is getting older. They're getting slower. They're not going to be able to manage as many minutes. We know, obviously, Milner signed a new contract, but he's not going to be playing too many minutes. But he will play. He he is important. He will be important in certain games. We know Henderson possibly needs his role redefining a little bit, as in he may not be so suited to being a number 8, but if we could really work on him as being as a number 6, and starting him more against, without being disrespectful, but being disrespectful against the Dross as a number 6, he should be fine, and that will help us give Fab a little breather here and there when he needs it, because we genuinely don't have a good enough number 6 at the club to be able to do that on a regular basis. Whereas we know Henderson has played that role for 2-3 years previously, a couple of seasons previously. Yes. Sorry, so that would be. It's more about evolving rather than trying to do too much. We've got a fantastic squad. We truly have. We've got a lot of depth there. And the reason we know we've got a lot of depth there is we played every single game available to us last season. So the depth is there. It's just now fine-tuning it a little bit so that next season we could maybe get that 1 or 2 goals that we need, or get that 1 or 2 points maybe that we need. And it's just, again, fine margins.
It is indeed, and Liverpool do good business. So let's see what happens. Cam, again, fantastic season. We're gonna shoot the next one for you real quick. Player of the season, if you had to give an award to somebody.
Sadio Mane finished the season fantastically. Really did an awful lot of good work for us. Mo Salah, up until AFCON, was the best player in the world, without a shadow of a doubt. And he seemed to regress after AFCON, but his regression was only in terms of goals scored rather than goal contributions. Virgil van Dijk came back from an ACL to almost stroll through the season and show why he's the best defender in the world, best central defender in the world. Well, best defender in the world, regardless. What a player, Rolls Royce of a player. To come back from such a serious injury as that and to be as majestic as he was. I mean, he looked shaky on the odd occasion, but mostly the whole season he was imperious, wonderful, wonderful footballer. But my player of the season is somebody who I feel hasn't maybe got as much plaudits as he should have, because for somebody who has so little to do in the game, but to then do what he does so brilliantly when needed, and to produce the one-on-one saves that he does, to have got us those 3 points, or to kept that 1 point, or to keep that clean sheet, and to have done it consistently through the whole season. I think he's only had one bad game, and I can't even remember that. And I'm only saying that because I heard somebody say it the other day, and I still can't remember which game it was. And it's Alisson Becker. I just think he's, throughout the season, his level of consistency from August to June and end of May, it's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And so for me, my player of the season would be Alisson Becker.
I like it a lot, and I don't think I've heard anyone say Alisson Becker yet on the recordings that I've done so far, and obviously the podcast that have been released. So I like that shout. Right, Cam, last one. Your hopes and expectations for next season. Obviously, we've all been chatting, and everyone kind of wants the Champions League and the league. So over to you.
I want all 4. No, genuinely.
Yeah.
Genuinely, actually, let's say 5. Let's throw the Community Shield in there as well, because apparently that's a big trophy now as well if you're a Man City fan. So let's start there, get the Community Shield under our belt, start the season on fire, retain the League Cup, retain the FA Cup, go the extra step that's needed in the league, get those extra 2 points, get those 2 goals that we need in the Champions League final. Why can't we have a similar season again? I mean, yes, we got the World Cup in November. That's going to disrupt the season a lot. But we've got players who are not going to the World Cup. You know, possibly Thiago won't go. We know Mo's not going. We know Luis Diaz is not going. So those players are going to be if those 3 players don't go, that's 3 huge players for us who are going to be. We'll get a 6-week break mid-season. They're gonna have fun come January or end of December, whenever the World Cup finishes. They're gonna have some fun, I'm telling you. So I genuinely want to see how to try and do what we did again this season, but just take those 2 little extra steps as well. You've got to believe that we are capable of doing that. We've got to try and show that this season wasn't a fluke where we played 63 games that were available to play. And the only way you're going to do that is to go out again the next season and try and emulate that, improve on that. Are we going to need a lot of luck along the way? Too right we are. But this will come down to now that squad depth really coming into force. And don't forget, our coaching setup, they're always learning as well. They're always looking to improve as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to try and improve on last season. So the target has always got to be, we've got to be better than last season. We've got to be better than last season. We lost the Champions League. We went out the next year and we won the Champions League. We lost the league by a ridiculously small margin. We went out and won the league by a massive margin the next season. You've always got to look to improve, and I believe that's what we'll do.
I love it. I love the positivity, and what a wonderful note to end this little segment of the season review podcast with Kam Brainch. Kam, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Right, so that was Kam Brainch with his season review. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this little segment. Give us your thoughts, share your thoughts on Discord, interact with us on social media as well. I'm just going to take a quick breather because Kam's a chatty one. I will be back with part 2 with another guest, so watch this space and see you soon. Hey guys, welcome back to the season review podcast exclusively on Anfield Index Pro on the Pro Plus section. And you've heard part 1 there, took a little breather, got the second guest. It's a familiar voice, and she needs no introduction, but I'm going to give her one. So you've heard Kam Brainch there giving his hot take on the season. Now I'm bringing on the lady who keeps him in check on the main AI podcast. It is Miss Lisa-Marie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you so much for inviting me to do this today. I'm really excited about just looking back over the season with you. And I guess I just can't get away from being grouped with Kam, can I?
I had to do it. You know, when I was like looking at names, I was like, gotta do it. But you know what? Kam will
probably... it's fine. It was just funny.
Yeah. And you know, Kam's probably breathing a sigh of relief because you're not really putting him down. And you know, he's you know Kam and his
No, I love Kam. You know that.
Yeah, we do know that. And he's the gift that keeps on giving. But Lisa, it's great to speak with you, and I'm really, really intrigued. Obviously, I have you on the Nina Kauser show, and you are an absolute asset to the pod and just the AI community in general. Love having you on, and I always get to speak to you for game to game, so I was, it's great that I'm going to get to hear the full shebang of how you felt about the season. So, first things first, what a season the Reds have had, and I want to get your thoughts on what you made of it as a whole, because obviously we can step back, reflect, pause. So over to you, Lisa.
And I think it's good that, we've taken just this little bit of a break before, myself and others have started looking back on the season, so that it hasn't been kind of, a knee-jerk reaction.
Yes.
From, that last week, which, was highs and lows. So for me personally, it's been an exciting season. As many people know, I am a more recent Liverpool fan. And so as the season progressed, I found myself, this has been, if you will, kind of the first full normal season that I'm using, what I would say air quotes, I forget, inverted commas here, that I have really been following closely with the team. I started following the team back in like 2017, but it was catching matches as I could, and listening to podcasts here and there, and then it was really the 1920 season that I really started getting into it. And of course, we all know what the end of that season ended up being, and then the next season was just weird, with no fans and and all the injuries and everything else. So is this, as the excitement of this season has built for all of us as a fan base, it's kind of built for me personally and grown for me personally. So, looking back as overall, it's been an exciting journey for me, and I feel like I have, kind of come full on in, beginning of the season was fairly early in the season when Trev invited me to, start doing the main AI podcast. So, and then here I am now doing a podcast with you, reviewing the season as a whole. So it's just been kind of a growth season for me personally. So it's just been a lot of fun. Now that I can take that step back, it's been fun, overall, it's been fun.
I love that, and I love the fact that you kind of mentioned the fact that we've not had like this sort of knee-jerk reaction. We've had a little time to pause and reflect, because obviously the last week, the two big disappointments that we faced collectively as Liverpool supporters, and and I don't know how you do it, Lisa, because you strike me as a very, very busy person, but to juggle it all, to be consistent with the podcast and, always kind of remaining upbeat and being a positive energy on the podcast. I mean, like, it's just great. I think it's quite infectious. It's good. So, long may it continue. And I love the fact that, 2020 was a season that you really, really, really could like start watching as many games as possible. And, that was the season we won the league as well. And,
well, and I have the kind of it's been a joke that I've mentioned to a couple other people. I didn't see the Champions League final games live in 2018 and 2019 because my daughter's dance recital fell that same weekend. So, I'm, in between dances, checking the score and everything, and, shouting yes as we win in 2019. And then ironically, 2020, her recital was delayed because of, COVID and everything else. And the night that we clinched the title, I'm sitting in her dance recital again. I'm like, for the love, I mean, come on.
That is such bad luck. I'm like,
anyway, so it didn't fall this year. I mean, it fell a little bit differently, but it was just so funny that even while I would have been watching those in 2018 and 2019, and and anyway, it was just funny. I was actually in 2020 when we clinched the league that night. I was like messaging back and forth with Trev, and because that's we were starting to kind of get to know each other. So we were messaging back and forth on Twitter, and I think Alan O'Donoghue and I were messaging back and forth too. And so anyway, it was just funny.
you were kind of celebrating in a virtual sense.
I was celebrating in my own way.
Yeah, and I think we all were, because obviously we were all in lockdown. We couldn't go anywhere. I remember all those like just jumped on Discord. But this season, like you said, you've thoroughly enjoyed it. So Lisa, going to put you on the spot. There's been so many great moments. As you know, the Reds were challenging on all fronts till the very end. So if you had to pick a favorite match, a game that kind of stands out for you this season, which one would it be and why?
Well, kind of following on to the story that I just told you, it was the first League Cup final against Chelsea, because that is the first final I had been able to watch, in any competition live and sit down and watch from beginning to end. Now, of course, it was quite the roller coaster of nerves, going, finishing, with the tie and then the extra time and then the penalties and, the whole bit. But when I look back, it was just, and of course it helped that the payoff was there, but it was just such a great story, that it was, Kelleher who, scored the last penalty for us to win it. Yeah, it was just fun. So I really think, and again, I enjoyed the FA Cup final as well, but I think just because that was the first, cup final that I had been able to sit down in real time and watch, it just was kind of a highlight for me for the season.
No, I love that. And it's and again, like, obviously you think about, the Carabao Cup, and, I've never had like the best opinion of it, but you look at the caliber of team that we were playing in the final as well, Chelsea, and
right,
it's absolutely huge, and I guess you could say the start of a really, really exciting season.
Exactly. I was just going to say that it felt like it was just this, this first step in this journey that we had all been kind of, jokingly talking about, going for the quadruple, and it was like, okay, check that one. And, and it just sort of really started, because if you think about, that was the end of February. And it just really made us start to think that all these things were possible. And, and even though it didn't end in the end the way we would have liked for it to, it was still, it was just, and again, I keep referring to it, but that's been a running joke on the main AI pod was, hashtag fun, hashtag joy, enjoy this.
Yes.
Because, we're going to look back on it and, 5, 10, whatever years and be like, remember that incredible season of 21-22.
No, absolutely, Lisa, and enjoy this team as well and this squad.
Yes.
Because I've unfortunately, but I've seen some pretty bad, seasons, and you should be really, really appreciative and grateful. Okay, so that was your favorite match. I think a lot of people will have that down as one of their favorite matches. Certainly, people like Cam Brainch and Gags Tandon, who were also there at the final as well. So that was your favorite match. What would be your favorite moment of the season? It can be on field, off field. The world is yours, Lisa.
There's so many. You know what, though? One of my favorites was, and you've maybe heard the guys joke and tease me about Harvey Elliott being my fourth child. But him coming back and playing in that cup game against Cardiff, and I can't remember if it was FA or, they all start running together as to which cup was which. But when he came and he scored that goal in front of, I think he scored in front of the cop, right? And it was just like, we all saw this horrific moment, mere months before, where the kid's ankle is just, messed up. And my heart was just broken. But then, to just see that not only has he come back, but, and I know he didn't play a whole lot throughout the end of the season, but to me, that was there was just so much joy in that. I felt like one of my kids had done something great, and so, and it was as we were, we were kind of coming to the end of that little bit of, a rough patch for us, within the middle of the season, through the holidays and the beginning of the year. And so it just felt like, you know what? We're finding the joy in this game again. We're finding the joy in this team. But for him to score that goal and just, keep us in, we were winning anyway, but it was just like, how far is this team going to go? So to me, that's just, when I do these things, when I do these look back things, I try to I kind of go with like the first thing that pops into my head. And for favorite moment, that was the first thing that popped into my head.
I love that. And it's such a hipster shout as well. And actually one of our contributors, Dave Horrocks, obviously part of the Nina Kauser show as well. He had Elliot, suffering the break against Leeds as one of his worst moments of the season. So it's so good that you kind of like, and then, because it looked like the season over for the kid, because he looked so bright and sparky.
Yes.
And then he gets that unfortunate injury. And you're fearing the worst for him. And for him, like you said, just to highlight, coming on, he didn't play an awful lot, but when he came on, he scored a goal, and it was just such a joyous occasion and moment. So I love that. And I love the fact that your fourth child did you proud there.
Yeah, Trev refers to him as my fourth child, Harvey Elliott. So
there you go. Yep. I love that favorite moment. Right. Sorry, I'm going to take you through an emotional roller coaster on this, Lisa. Your worst match.
Okay, I've kind of got two that popped into my head on this one. The first one, I didn't watch it in real time, but I knew what the result was, and I sat down to watch it, and it still just made me kind of furious and frustrated and crazy all at once. And that was the Tottenham away match back, it was like December 19th or something like that. And I mean, and of course that's also a running thing, is I hate Tottenham, or I dislike Tottenham. I do not like Harry Kane. Yes. And he tried to break Robo's leg, and didn't even get or whatever. And and again, I knew that we had tied the match. I knew that there had been some questionable calls going on throughout it. And I still sat down and watched it. I made the mistake of watching it in the couple hours before I went to bed. And I was just so frustrated and furious that I couldn't even get to sleep right away. So that's one. But of the matches that I was actually sitting down and watching, it was a couple weeks later, and it was Leicester away when we lost. Yeah. And part of the reason that one just made me so angry and frustrated is because I'd listened to Dave and Carl Matchett on Scouted, and they had talked about how we were going to blow them away. We were going to win, by 6 goals, and it was going to be, it was just going to be great. And I'm like, and I did, I sent Dave a message at halftime and went, hello, what's going on here? And he's like, oh, we're going to do it. We're still going to do it. And of course we all know what happened. So I think that would be the one that I was sitting down and watching was probably my least favorite. And I know a lot of us would say the Champions League final, and certainly that was so disappointing, but I think it's just because when all the stuff that was happening ahead of the match starting, I just had such a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. And I think while that match was hugely disappointing, I also was balancing it with, just this sense of anxiety about what was happening, to our fans and to the people that I've, gotten to know, through the podcasting that, as we know we're there. And I'm just like, it was just, so while that match is disappointing and in some ways is the worst, there were just so many other extenuating circumstances that I just can't necessarily call that out as the worst match, if that makes any sense.
I get that completely, because I think everyone kind of forgot the result of the Champions League final. And
because it didn't even really matter. Yeah. I mean, I almost honestly, and as you referenced earlier, I am a very, glass is half full, fairly optimistic person. And I very much generally, really think that our team can pull it off until I hear the whistle blow and the match is over. I generally do not lose hope. And especially in one like this, where we were only down by a goal. But just when the match got delayed and we're seeing the reasons why and seeing all the stuff, on Twitter and wherever else, I just was so, stressed out and anxious and whatever that it honestly, the game just kind of didn't mean the same to me in the same way that it had, 2 hours before. So.
Yeah, I get that completely. And the Leicester one, I had that down as like my worst game as well, because I thought we were completely dominant. And, when you see sort of like Salah missing the penalty, and I just remember just getting really frustrated at, I think it was Jordan Henderson who was just trying to like volley it from every angle possible.
Well, and was that one of it may not have been that specific match, but I know there was one match around that time period where it was like Henderson was trying to be everywhere, and it was like just you're not helping.
Yes, yeah.
Play your position and let the other guys sort themselves out, anyway, but it's in the past. It's okay.
It's in the past. And and that was the game where I kind of threw in the towel as well. And I was like, I think there was like 14 points between us and Man City at that point. And I think, was it yourself that was on the podcast? I can't remember. We did the post-match.
I don't know that I was on that one. I remember us having a main
chat about it.
Pod about it. Yeah. Just after that. And I was kind of the light of hope.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were. I remember, and I was like, I threw in the towel and I owned up to it. And I think Kam might have been on the pod actually. But anyway, I just remember just being really, really frustrated at that result, because before that, I think it was like a week before that, I think it was the League Cup, and we absolutely
with like,
kids.
Not our first teamers. If I recall, because that was when we were having, I think, there were some injury issues, and I think there were also some people testing positive for COVID around that time. And and so, and that was, that was all the more reason why we're thinking, oh, well, we've got, some of our first team people, back in the rotation. So and at the time, Leicester, I think, we're having some issues with injuries or, COVID or both. And so we're like, oh yeah, this shouldn't be a problem. But it was like, and I think I remember saying this on the main pod, where I was like, it felt like our guys forgot they had a game that day. They kind of were like, they woke up and went, oh wait, today's the Leicester match. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. Because it was that period between Christmas and New Year's, and you kind of do tend to lose, especially if you're off work and everything, you lose sight of what day of the week it is, and and everything else. And so it was just almost like, oh, that's today, not tomorrow. Okay.
I love that, Lisa. So
okay, we've got it. All right, yeah, and just I mean, their heads just weren't quite there or something. I mean, and that's gonna happen, but I think it was a series of things that were starting to feel like this domino effect. And I think too, we hadn't played a regular, a league match for, because we'd had the Leeds had been postponed. Anyway, it was just, and we all know our team is a rhythm team. And I think that was it. It was just a whole series of, unfortunate events. And it just kind of culminated in that Leicester match.
It certainly did. And Lisa, so your worst moment?
Okay, so I'm going to tie on to this a little bit. It would have been, I think it was really in the next match when we played Chelsea away, and we were leading, we were 2 goals up, and it's like, all right. And then, bam, bam, they scored those 2 to tie it up. And I just remember thinking, oh, this is not good. This, and that was where I lost a little bit of my hope and I think that was about the point where we hit, 14 points behind and everything. And that was, the last match, I think, before Salah and Mane were heading off to AFCON. And it's like, oh no, if we can't get this over the line while they're still here, what is the rest of this month going to look like? So I really think it was that, to me, was sort of the low point. And then, it built back up. I know a lot of people, it was Leicester, but, the match before, but for me, it was that Chelsea match was, just, we had the 2 goal lead, and we just bottled it. And yeah, so anyway.
No, it's really good. And obviously as well, where it happened as well, like, you know, the two main guys going off to AFCON, you're kind of thinking what is going to happen, where the goal's going to come from. You're looking at the schedule, the fixture list of that period whilst they're away. But, you know, fear not, Jurgen Klopp and the Scottish team had ideas, and, you know, Luis Diaz comes in, and, you know, we looked absolutely calm. But yes, I do remember the Chelsea game, and I think Harinder put that down as well as one of his worst matches.
Oh, okay.
Actually. Yeah, so good shout.
Great minds.
Yeah,
great minds.
Great minds. Right, Lisa, if you could give an award to one player for being the player of the year.
You know, I think it has to be Alisson, because he was consistent for the whole season. And really, you know, was the reason that we were able to pull out wins, you know, for some of our games. You know, I mean, of course, Salah had an incredible season. Again, when you look overall, we've all heard and participated in the conversations on where the second half of his season was not nearly as good as his first half. But I mean, no one, I don't think, could maintain the levels that he was doing the first half of the season. So again, Mo, of course, had an incredible season. Virgil, I think, had an incredible season. To have come back from being out for the year for his injury, and to basically not miss a step, you know, isn't, you know, absolutely incredible as well. But I think Alisson just edges it for me, just for being, you know, that consistent force of nature that he is.
Somewhere in Birmingham, Kam Brainch is enjoying his milk and Coca-Cola, smiling because he had the same pick. He's going to think he is an absolute football expert right now, Lisa.
Did he say the same thing?
Yes.
Well, the great minds, what can I say?
Yeah, the great minds. Yep, he's going to be very, very smug. Right, Lisa? I'm really intrigued to hear your answer on this one. AI podcast you've enjoyed listening to or taking part in? I mean, the floor is yours. Of
course, I have loved being on the main AI pod. You know, again, it is sort of, it has covered the arc of the season for me, because it was, you know, again, I think it was September when Trev, you know, reached out and asked me if I would be interested in giving it a go. And then, you know, and I mean, I'm going to tell y'all, I was a nervous wreck for the first couple of those that we recorded. I hope it didn't show too terribly much, but I feel like I've grown into it, you know, as the season has gone on. And I tease the guys and I tell them it's my, you know, the highlight of my week. And of course we haven't recorded one for a couple of weeks now, but it's, you know, I just have really enjoyed, you know, recording that with Trev and Cam. And of course, you know, Carl's joined us some, Carl Kopek, and you know, Simon Brundish has jumped on with us for a couple as well. So that's been fun. I've loved being on yours. You know, the Nina Kauser show. It's fun to get on again with different people and exchange the, you know, thoughts and opinions and, you know, and takes on the match, with just, you know, with another group of people. So that's been fun as well. But as far as ones that I've enjoyed listening to, I love the old school podcasts when Gags and Dave Hendricks get on those. They make me laugh. You know, from the way they start them, and then just especially if, you know, Dave gets on some sort of a rant in the middle of it, or, you know, or even, you know, just the dynamic between the two of them just is highly entertaining as far as I'm concerned. But I think the different podcasts that I've really liked has been, well, it's another one that Dave Hendricks been involved in, along with you know, Trev Downey, has been that On the Books podcast that they've done, where they've done the book reviews on the football related books. I've you know, they've only done a couple of them, but, you know, I've found them very engaging each time they've done them. So I'm hoping that there's more of that to come here especially in the off season, where, you know, they're not having to do post-match Raw every 3 or 4 days, and, you know, and some of the other things that, you know, they have to do in the regular season. So
Some great content there, listeners. So Lisa-Marie's giving her top tips, which ones you should listen to. But Lisa, yeah, you've been absolutely great on the pods, and yeah, it's natural to be nervous when you first come on, but it didn't show. It didn't show.
Thank you.
Yeah, it didn't show, and yeah, you're just going from strength to strength. But I think it'd be quite interesting for you to, I don't know, for anyone who does podcasting, to go to their first one and just see maybe their growth. I think that's always like a good little thing to do. I mean,
I might have to do that. That might be something for me to do here in the next few weeks, is to go back and listen to that first one that I did. Yeah. And or first couple even, and then, maybe the last couple that I've done, and just kind of catch the differences. I think I'm more, I feel like Trev doesn't have to pull as much out of me, as he did initially. I can say that for certain, but that's just a comfort level that comes from having done it a few times, and and having worked with them now for months, and it's like any new relationship, if you will. You just you build a rapport, and it goes from there.
It does, absolutely, and the chemistry is absolutely phenomenal on all on them podcasts and all the podcasts that you partake in. And I have to say as well, I do enjoy the old school podcast as well. Like, again, them two were on the main AI podcast way back when, and so I think they just enjoy just getting together when they can, because they're so busy to do that podcast, and it's just like friends catching up, isn't it? So yeah, I do enjoy that podcast. Lisa, I call this silly season, but it's no longer silly season now. Obviously, we've had some exciting news, but transfer window hopes and expectations. I mean, this is a phenomenal squad. It's such a strong bench as well. The starting 11 is really, really grand. But for you, I mean, what do you expect from the Reds?
It's funny. This is kind of an area where I've evolved a little bit as well. Is a couple seasons ago, when I first starting to understand the transfer season and the overall picture of all of that, and it would be like they would announce somebody and I wouldn't know who they were. I didn't know, and of course now I pay a little bit more attention to the possibilities and everything else. But I do remember, and I can't remember specifically who it was, but the talk season or two ago of bringing people in, and I'm like, no, I don't want to change our people. I like our guys. They're no, we don't. But now, I understand that you need to bring in, new players and everything to kind of refresh the squad, and have that depth. We all very mumuch understood that after last season, after the 2021 season. So, I just want to see us to continue, and it looks as though we're doing it, is, to keep building, keep moving the squad forward, keep refreshing it, so that we can just continue this wonderful era that we're, enjoying with Liverpool. So, and I mean, it looks as though, we're making some great moves in that, in that direction. Of course, Diaz in January, and, the two signings that, the signings we're seeing so far. And so that's, kind of just an overall hope for me, is that, we just continue to evolve the squad in the right way.
Absolutely nailed on, Lisa. And I remember watching the Champions League final, and obviously you're watching and you're hoping somebody gets onto the end of one of those crosses or something, and you look, and we're not reactionary people, and you think, well, you are so great, but you know what, you just need a little bit more, just a little bit more, like in terms of, maybe an attacker and a midfielder. And that's what I was thinking. It wasn't like, oh, I want an overhaul of the whole squad. I mean, no. we're not knee-jerk reactionary people. It's just a little something to take you over the edge, because you are truly, truly up against a team that is injected with so much money and so much financial muscle. And on the pitch as well, they are a great team. So you have to sort of keep up with them.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this at some point, in a discussion I was having on the main pod, was, I really think it's wonderful as our, traditional front three, Mane, Salah, Firmino, it had become a little bit predictable, if you will, that teams kind of knew what to expect from us. And on the day that didn't matter. but some days we needed just a little bit more, or to be able to kind of keep them guessing. And so, bringing in Jota initially sort of did that. And, and just some, and then of course, Thiago. Yeah. I mean, that's, while if Mane does end up, leaving here, and, looks very much like he's going to, as much as I hate to see him go, I'm excited about the prospect of bringing in the new players and what that can offer, and, and the challenge that we can provide for our opposition as we move forward.
Absolutely. It's very, very exciting indeed. And of course, I like the fact that you kind of mentioned that, the front three, as great as they are, sometimes it may have become a little predictable, and Jota gets thrown in, and then Diaz, which was another headache for everyone, and boy, do we love watching him. And, just the thought of having a full season of him, next season. And now we've got hopefully Nunes, medical pending, fingers crossed, it all goes well. Yep, we don't want another episode of Nabil Fekir, thank you very much. We do not want that. So hopefully all things go well. And yeah, it does. And I'm with you as well, like there would be a time where a really great player would leave Liverpool, like back in the day, like a Fernando Torres or those kind of players, and you would actually have a lot of anxiety, because who are they going to replace them with? And right now, with Jurgen Klopp and the scouting team and the setup, there is just so much more confidence in terms of what this team is, what the scouting team and the kind of players that Jurgen Klopp wants. And, hopefully, we have enough about us now to attract those kind of players. And again, enjoy this moment, Reds, because back in the day, Lisa, players would reject us, would not.
Oh yeah, us, I know. I mean, that's the thing, is when people start referencing stuff that is like kind of before, I was paying attention, if you will, I do go back and kind of, read up or, watch or whatever, just so that I can understand the context of things in the discussions. But I mean, too, I think I've said this maybe in Discord in the last couple of days or whatever, but talking about, I mean, not that I'm biased at all, but why in the world would you want to go play for Manchester United right now? I mean, that place is just, I mean, what a mess. And I mean, anyway, but
and that was us 10 years ago.
And yes, and I understand that,
that was exactly what we
just
were.
Look at it and you're thinking, okay, Darwin Núñez, why would you even, they don't have Champions League football this season. They did, and who knows what's going to happen with the new manager, and just, anyway, I mean, again, I'm showing my bias a little bit, but I really think in a way I'm also being kind of a step back, and not being biased and saying that, but it just, I mean, and kind of talking about this from a parent perspective, I wouldn't want my kid walking into the middle of that cesspool. Can you just imagine how toxic it is? Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, so I'll stop. But yes.
I love it. She's just about stopped herself. But yeah, that's exactly where we were, Lisa. So you came at the perfect time.
I know.
You really did. And the last question for you, I mean, it has been a great season. You saw the Reds lift 2 domestic cups. 2 big ones we missed out on. So what are your hopes and expectations for next season? This is truly a great Liverpool side, but they are up against this Man City team that is absolutely relentless. And, so what are your hopes and expectations for next season?
I want us to just go do it all again, which, may be a little unrealistic, because I think it's really going to be interesting to see what having the World Cup in the middle of the season is going to do, not just for the players going out, but just, again, referencing that, rhythm that our team tends to have. And you have this, month-long break or whatever in the middle of the season is just weird. So it's going to be interesting. Now, of course, it won't just be happening to us. It'll, be happening to everybody. So I think that's going to be interesting. But I think if I'm going to look at the 4 things we challenged for this year, and the one that I think I want us to win the most, and I think it's the league, because I just want to knock City off their perch. I'm just tired of, just them being so smug and plus whiny about the fact that, they don't feel like they get the love they deserve. So I think if I'm going to rank what I want us to, to really focus on next year, I want us to win the league again.
I love that. I love the fact that you started off with the quadruple, and you know what, Kam Brainch, I'm sure he's nicked your notes because he's an hour or four. He wasn't moving, though. He was not budging. So I think a lot of people do want the league, just because, again, so close.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think also what we would need to do is I think it would have to be a pretty flawless kind of season, because that's what you have to be. Both us and Man City, we push each other to the absolute limits, and I think why a lot of people kind of love the league as well, and it shows an element of like sheer consistency, especially with us two. We're doing 90 plus points a season. So I think a lot of people do enjoy that, and I really did enjoy the season we won the league and the way we were just absolutely everyone.
It feels like we got robbed in a way. I mean, that while we did win the league, again, it was so weird. We've had it pretty much done before everything paused.
Yes,
but even still, and it just feels like
the parade, and
they didn't get to truly enjoy it, and not even that. Even obviously the parade, and we know how to do a parade. Thank you very much. But then when the season started back, and you didn't have fans in the stadium, so even they just couldn't be properly celebrated by the fans going to the matches, and and all of that. So it just feels like, waited so long to win the league. We win the league, and it's in the middle of 2020. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's why I want the league more than anything for us for next season is just because of all of that.
And it'll stop United fans singing 20 times as well.
That too.
Them off that. Yeah,
that's another tick in the plus column. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Jurgen Klopp, if you're listening, you've heard what Lisa-Marie said there. You've heard what Kam Brainch has said there as well. No pressure, but Lisa, thank you so much for that.
Well, you are so welcome. Thank you so much for asking me to participate in this. This has been fun, and I've enjoyed listening to the ones that have been recorded already. So I look forward to hearing Kam and whoever else is coming up to listen to their thoughts and their takes on things as well.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure hosting you again. And guys, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. Give us your thoughts, your feedback, interact with us on Discord, give us your shouts on Twitter as well. We'll be happy to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening, and we will be back with another one, no doubt. Till next time, take care and up the Reds.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.